My name is Shintaro Okamoto, and this is how I turn a 200-pound block of ice into a cockatoo by hand. First, I sketched an outline of the sculpture on a block of ice with a small pick. I'm looking at the profile of the design first. Ice is a really funny material. It's crystal clear, so it's void of color and shadow. So we have to rely a lot on silhouette and think about how light can refract and try to manipulate that to create our work. It's a very special ice, it's a carving ice that's made through a process with two important points. One is one direction freezing, where it freezes bottom up, so all the impurities and kind of air bubbles that builds up in the process of freezing stays on the surface. And two, freezing agitating water, moving water. And that allows to kind of constantly release those air bubbles away. Then I cut a rough shape with a chainsaw. Off-the-shelf chainsaw blades have this little notch, an extra metal piece behind each blade to prevent the kickbacks for cutting wood. But for ice, we take those away because with those on, it kind of clogs the blade and ends up hiding the cutting blade and makes it harder to cut. So it's one of the common modifications that ice carvers do. So with the chainsaw, I carve all around it and basically take out all the negative space and get the actual design punched out. I would say about 2/3 of the work is done with chainsaw. It's amazing how much finesse you can get out of such a brute tool. Once the contour is set, I'm staying on with the chainsaw still, but now it's time to start shaping the sculpture. I'm gonna then start thinking about, in respect to the overall thickness of the sculpture, proportionally, where would the head be? How wide would the head be? Thinking about the angles of the wingspan spreading out. Really just start to form the animal as I'm carving out and establishing the 3D volume of the sculpture. It's very blocky, but the volume is there. So the next tool that I usually pick up will be either the chisels or the chippers. This tool is called a chipper. This is where if I'm carving an animal, I think about anatomy. I think about, where is the skull and where is the muscle connects to and where all things gonna come together and connect. And this is when the sculpture starts to take a life of its own. And it's fun because I'm personally a big fan of hand tools. I first encountered ice carving through my father, who learned the craft during his training as a sushi chef in Japan. I got trained in kind of an old world technique of appreciating and respecting the sharp hand tools. Once that's done, I think I'm more than halfway through. I'm back to power tools at this point. The first thing then I pick up would be the burrs. It's basically a conical special bit that goes onto a die grinder that's got tiny teeth all around. And that basically further refines the overall shape and really just smooths it all out. Once this stage is done, I'm ready for final detailing, and I usually just touch two other tools to do that. One is a knife bit on a die grinder that establishes the deepest creases of the forms. Then I finish it with needle bit that has the skinniest of tips. And that can establish the smallest of the eye details to beak lines to all the feather details. We can spend as much time as we want with that, however level of detailing we want to put into. I use the blowtorch sometimes to really heighten the clarity of the ice after everything's finished. Working with ice, there's inevitable understanding that it's a passing ephemeral, constantly changing and melting and gone. Ultimately, when our sculpture leaves the studio, that's when it really takes on its true life. More than anything, it's so rewarding to see the sculpture be experienced by people and see them be fascinated in such unfamiliar scale and level of details. And then to see it melting away, it's incredibly humbling. As it melts and deforms and disappears, that first impression stays in their memory.